Deputies found bodies after bodies after bodies, but something clearly was not adding up. Every body that they found was listed as cremated, but they clearly wasn't. They were standing over the bodies. I'm Solomon, insurance agent. Welcome to Coverage and Chaos, the show where insurance meets insanity. Every week, we come across some of the wildest insurance frauds, scams, schemes, everything that a criminal think that they can get away with. They usually don't, but this week we have a doozy. It all started with a person really just trying to finish their route. In October of 2000, a propane delivery truck driver pulled up to a small patch of land outside of Noble, Georgia. He knows the routine. He's been here before. Drop the tank, sign the slip, move on. But this time something didn't look right. As he glared outside the tree line, he noticed something. He first thought it was trash. Kind of thought it was a mannequin. But the more he stared at it, the more there was a knot that was growing inside of his stomach. He tries to shake it off. He gets back into his truck and he couldn't leave. So he decided to make a phone call. In February of 2022, 16 months later, federal investigators step into a 16 wooded acre property. They were following up on an anonymous tip they received about bone fragments from a truck driver. They expected to find something minor like animal remains, but what they walked into was truly a nightmare. Scattered through the woods, stuffed in sheets, being stacked on top of each other in plastic bins, were bodies, human bodies, decomposing in every stage. The property was owned by Tri-State Crematorium. Now, this was a family-run business that dozens of funeral homes from the areas of Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia relied on every single day. For 20 years, hundreds of families received urns from Tri-State, taking them home, placing them on the mantles, even burying them on their family plots. But Tri-State didn't cremate anyone. They were handing families urns filled with powdered concrete, wood ash, and sometimes dirt. As the police tape went up, there was a huge question that went over the whole tri-state area. Who's going to pay for this? The state of Georgia had to build a morgue just for those bodies to be identified. That morgue cost the state of Georgia $500,000 a week. Georgia was not trying to foot the bill, or were they? The Marsh family, which ran and owned the crematory, did not have money to pay for anything, which meant that the state was on hook for this morgue. The victims' families had to pay out of pocket for damages. And if the lawyers didn't find a nice loophole, they wasn't getting a plate at the table either. But leave it to a lawyer. They're going to find that loophole. They found it, but where they found it will make you question your own coverage policy. But first, how did the Marsh family get so twisted? Tommy Marsh was respected in this community. People trusted him with their lives and their deaths. But after a few health scares, he handed over the business to his son, 28-year-old Brent Marsh. And almost immediately after Brent took over, the crematory main incinerator broke down. A few $1,000s and a single phone call would have fixed the issue, but Brent didn't make the call. He took the next body given to him, carried it out into the woods, and left it there. And then he did it again and again and again for almost 6 years. 339 bodies later, criminal charges were filed. And then came the civil suits. The families sued for over $80 million and won. But Mr. Marsh didn't have $80 million. So basically, he was judgment proof, meaning that you can sue a person for $80 million, but if they only have $100 in their bank account, that's all you get is $100 in your bank account. So even though that they won in court, basically the families were not getting any compensation. So the lawyers, in their infinite wisdom, decided to go after the people who sent them the bodies in the beginning, the funeral homes. Funeral homes in Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama handed out fake ashes to the families. So when a family signs a contract with the funeral home assumes total legal custody of the deceased. So if that home hires an uninspected subcontractor to handle the cremation, basically it's their responsibility. So this whole thing blows up. And so funeral homes, they start to panic. They claim to be victims too. They said that Brent lied to them. But that defense doesn't work when it comes to professional liability insurance, which covers property entrusted in your care. And because the funeral homes, they neglected to audit Tri-State, ultimately the funeral homes insurance policies were on the hook. Their particular network, they all had to cough up at least $37 million. Now, there's a criminal case happening in this state, and the state of Georgia wanted to hammer Mr. Marsh with this information. It was called theft by deception. To prove theft, the state had to prove that Brett stole something of financial value, but his defense attorneys found a crazy loophole. It's not theft because a human corpse has no monetary value, which means you can't legally own or sell a dead body like property. What the You really can't make this shit up. So to charge him, the state had to prove that he stole the money paid for the cremation service, which is $235 a pop. So we got funeral homes paying millions of dollars for Brett's fuck up, but the families are still wanting justice from the Marsh family directly. That's when the victim's attorneys pulled out one of the slickest moves I've ever heard about in history. Since they couldn't use the business insurance angle, they looked at the family's homeowner's insurance policy on the land. Instead of focusing on Brent's crimes, they sued the elderly mother, Clara, and the deceased father's estate. The lawyers argued that the parents failed to supervise their son and neglected the maintenance of the property. So basically, the parents and the estate was being sued for negligence. That triggered the homeowner's insurance policy. The insurance companies fought this claim all the way up to the federal courts. Their argument is that Brent's intentional crimes is the real cause of the damages. I mean, I get it. You insured for kitchen fires and windstorms. You didn't try to insure for a mass backyard gravesite. But the loophole held. The court ruled that the parents' negligence was a different issue from the son's crimes. And the standard homeowner's policy had to pay out $18 million on behalf of the parents. After this tri-state scandal, funeral industry saw their insurance premiums skyrocket. No other company wanted to end up losing millions of dollars. If a funeral home today wanted to keep their coverage, there is a plethora of things that they got to go through now. Hands-on inspections, random audits to the crematoriums that they're using. Brett Marsh did not just destroy lives. He literally and fundamentally changed the way insurance companies price going to the upper room or the bottom of the basement. In the end, Brett Marsh was arrested, charged with theft, abuse of a corpse, fraud, and forgery. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. He served his time and he was released in 2016. When asked why did he do it, he didn't say anything. No reasoning, no explanation, no motive, no nothing. He didn't say anything. Now, today, if you visit Noble, Georgia, and you are on a 16-acre plot and you're looking for anything that says anything about the Tri-State Crematorium, you will not find it. As part of the insurance settlement, every building that had anything to do with the Tri-State Crematorium was bulldozed, torn down, demolished. The land was placed into a permanent trust and was absolutely forbidden to have any development. Families thought that they had closure, and then to find out that you were grieving over concrete dust, dirt, wood ash. That's the kind of pain that no settlement can fix. This is Coverage in Chaos. 339 bodies found on a freaking plot of land.